So we got a great looking swing here. Uh, Honestly, this is going to be an awesome example of what stability can look like in the backswing. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is if you don't set your wrists and you kind of continue to turn your shoulders and you get all of your rotation through that, and we don't have an early wrist set, sometimes what can happen, and what we're going to see here, is that that rotation ends up throwing us off and getting us well too above the plane. So my favorite thing about these face-on angles is we're going to be able to see just how fantastic this player does at remaining quite stable, as well as being able to deliver a strike beautifully. So taking it back to the first positional check, we can just see how stable our body is. We draw a box or circle around the head. And so as we're taking this club back, first positional check, we do a really good job. Club face is perfectly neutral, right hand's on top, lower body hasn't moved at all, and the head is rock steady. As we start to come up, what should end up happening around here is our wrists should start to cock. And when we get to this first positional check from here, we want to start to have some elevation of the club. And it's not necessarily lifting with the arms, but we want to get to a position where from here, we would want to see our club work more towards a vertical position. And because we don't, what ends up happening is our amazing stability that we have is we end up running out of room in our lower body, and so our upper body starts to really move off of our plane, and we start to come down with that shoulder. And so with that, we're going to start to see how our front shoulder starts to come down towards this ball, but then our back starts to lean towards the target. And all of that in combination with the lack of wrist setting, as we start to have this lifting, you can kind of barely see it. We start to see this lifting of that right elbow coming up. We kind of have that baseball swing position at the top. And so now we have this great high hands position. We can see how in plane our hands are with our shoulders. With our head, we can barely see them, and now we just start lifting and lifting and lifting. And so even in this position here at the top, we're very well round up. We can see how our face in this position is honestly not too shabby. If we were really open, we would see that club face pointing straight down. So it tells us we're doing a good job of maintaining the face angle through our swing. But because we end up having so much excessive rotation through our upper part of our back, is we're going to end up coming over the top. And so as we come down, we're not able to load our leg properly down towards that right foot and then have this push towards the left, as we end up trying to lean towards the ball because we're not able to use our lower body to push because our upper body's so over rotated that we have to uncoil the upper body first in order to get the sequencing of the lower body to go. If we had the lower body go in this position, we would end up having this really big kind of reverse kind of leaning back, and the timing of being able to sway and slide back onto the ball while leaning back is going to create quite a bit of inconsistency. And so as this player comes down, we start to see how the body and everything starts working down towards the ground because we want to feel like we're trying to use the ground to push off. But because the upper body has to continue to rotate and rotate and rotate, we're now getting to a point towards delivery, and we can see how neutral our hips are. We're very much towards us at this point in the face-on view, versus we would want to see these hips really starting to work out into the left and to clear. All of this is an effort to give some extra time for the hands. And coming into the frame towards impact, we can see how if we look just at this right hand here, and so what we're going to see is a lot of rolling through the hitting zone. And so this is always a telltale sign, especially with all the other compensatory things going on, of just how much this face has to catch up. That if we end up kind of ripping through at this part, we can see how the face is open. We're seeing a lot of that club in this face on. We want to see things a bit more neutral. And so we're going from an open position, and now the right hand is going to start rolling over to a point where we have a good amount of shaft lean. We're making great impact, getting down towards the ball. But then we end up having this right hand roll over, and our club is now becoming from a leaning position. We have this nice shaft lean to where all of a sudden we start to lose that angle, and now we have a very vertical club, where we want to see this angle in that wrist start to, if this hand was kind of coming down like this, we'd want to still see that left arm trailing forward and that hand in the club kind of coming back into an angle like that, and then rotating towards the left. We end up starting to flip to save, and we can see how that angle starts to reduce. Right hand starts to roll over, right hand's now on top, and then our wrist angle as we come forward, we have this kind of classic chicken winging start. It's not all that dramatic because we do a good job with the hands to save it, but we have this very extended left wrist versus we would want to keep and maintain that bow or that flexed position in order to help come down into the ball, to de-loft it and to compress it. And so a shot pattern like this is we're going to start to pop the ball up. We're going to get, probably some decent shots overall if the timing's great, but we're going to end up hitting a lot of weak shots because we're going to be adding loft into the ball. Coming through, we also see another rotational kind of lead here where the right hand is really rolling over. We can see just how much the swing is going over to the left. And our finish, not too shabby. We get our weight all the way forward. Overall, fantastic swing. I think one thing we could start to do is just learn how in this position we can get the wrists to start to work up and vertical in order to get a better set, in order to use all this fantastic lower body work that we have going for us.